It's Cheer.
And this is Loathing.
We're here to talk to you about movies.
She loves everything. I hate everything.
This should be fun.
This is a morbidly beautiful podcast.
Hello again and welcome to another episode of Cheer and or Loathing, featuring myself, Casey, as possibly Cheer or Loathing. And over there we have Stephanie, who might be Loathing or Cheer. I thought I'd mix things up this week.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going?
You asking me, not the audience?
Yeah, they can't answer, so yeah, I'm kind of talking to the co-host here, who's supposed to bounce off things they say, you know?
I'm good. Today is a really, really big day. It's a very special occasion that we're recording on a very special occasion, so I'm super excited. So, Casey, happy Shark Week.
Oh,
it's officially kicked off today.
Is it today? Like it starts today and goes till next week sort of thing?
Yes, it starts tonight. So that's why this is a very special day. It's one of the best times of the year. I mean, second probably only to Halloween, I would say.
See, my question about Shark Week is, with all the different streaming services and cable networks and channels and specialty shit out there, surely there's like a Shark Channel that really negates the meaning of Shark Week.
Well, I think it's like, one of those things. Like, listen, at any time of the year, could you watch something shark related? Sure. Like you have, like I know, Nat Geo just did their sort of Shark Fest, and so I've actually been watching shark stuff for a while now. But I think it's just because it's like, it's sort of symbolic, you know. It's like, because it's I think it started in 1999. Discovery Channel Shark Fest, and at the time, like, that was all there was, and it was a huge deal. And I think it's just like ceremonial at this point. It's just sort of symbolic of summer and a celebration of sharks and all the stuff we love. And it's always sort of at the tail end of summer, so it's right when you're starting to think about, like, you know, the summer being over, vacations being over, getting into kind of the fall sort of vibe. So it's like a last hurrah. I don't know. I feel like it is all sort of ceremonial, but I always make a big deal out of it because I love it so much. But yes, I mean, and for all intents and purposes, it's really just like, it's not anything special at this point.
Right.
But you have to make it special, you know?
Well, my second follow-up to that is there really all that much more information about sharks being released every year that they need a whole week to do a thing on it?
I don't know. I feel
like we know everything there is to know.
I don't think you do.
Well, I mean, I don't,
listen.
but like as a human species, I'm pretty sure we know enough about sharks to be like, yeah, okay, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna feel this week. Watch people get eaten by them.
I mean, there are people who do this for their job. They like study sharks and marine animals, and they're constantly learning new stuff. I feel like we've only begun to scratch the surface on what we really know, and that's exciting. I do say so.
Well,
I don't know.
No, go on. No, continue.
Well, I was going to say, I watch a lot of this shit, and I feel like I'm always learning stuff and fascinated and excited.
Are you the brightest bulb in the shed, and you remember you're just forgetting?
That's really fucked up. I'm really smart. Especially about things I care about, you know? Like, if I care about it, I retain the information pretty well.
Right. Fair enough. So in case you haven't guessed, what?
Go ahead. No. You transition. Listen, just you go. I'm gonna shut up for a while, and you just tell me when it's my turn to talk.
Sure. I'll hit the shot collar so you know when it's time to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, this week we are definitely not 100% not talking about sharks at all. It's an alien week. So I watched Independence Day, and you watched Independence Day too, right?
I like aliens a lot too, so we could definitely do an alien week. Yeah, it was my pick this week, so of course, as you can tell, I'm a little giddy about Shark Week, so I'm forcing Casey to do a Shark Week on the show, where we're going to be celebrating shark movies. And we both each picked a film that we had not seen before, which was very hard for me because I've seen a lot of freaking shark movies. But Casey, which one did you pick?
I went with The Meg.
And
I was sorely disappointed because I thought it was about Meg Griffin from Family Guy, but...
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, that's an easy edit to make, really. It'd be a hilarious edit to make, too. But anyway, continue.
I've seen like poster edits and stuff of that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, I haven't seen like a video one, but I've seen like visual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I really struggled because I was like, shit, like a shark movie. I mean, there are shark movies I haven't seen, but they're all like Syfy original, like, you know, Shocktopus versus Sharkzilla or some shit.
Right.
Not that those aren't fun too, but I was like, I'm not doing that to Casey. So I picked 47 Meters Down Uncaged because I have seen 47 Meters Down, the original, but I had not yet seen the sequel. So I was like, all right, well, this is as good a time as any. So that was my pick for this episode.
You know what's kind of funny?
What?
I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page for Uncaged. And you know how it says you might
away.
also
That's
like.
my
No,
part.
I'm not. But it says there's like the section you might also like a recommendation thing.
Yeah.
47 Meters Down, the original, isn't one of the recommended on this page, which is kind of stupid if you think about it.
Yeah.
But it does list a bunch of movies where the average rating is probably about 8.
8 out of 10?
No, 8 out of 100. 8%, yeah.
Okay. So listen, you were like, which one do you want to start with? And I was like, well, I think I know, but let's talk about it on the air.
Sure.
So I think that I would like to start with 47 Meters Down if you're okay with it.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm going to tell us a little bit about this film, and then I'm super excited to get into this one. So this is 47 Meters Down Uncaged is a 2019 survival horror film. It is a supposedly direct sequel to 47 Meters Down, which was a 2017 kind of surprise hit. But it is really, and we'll talk about this, it is pretty much just a sequel in name only. In fact, it's a little silly because they are nowhere near 47 Meters Down in the sequel. They were in the original, which I did see, and we can talk about that a little bit, like how this one compares. But in this one, the plot follows a group of girls who scuba dive to a sunken Mayan city, only to be trapped by a group of sharks that are swimming in it. So Casey mentioned the Rotten Tomatoes score, which we've kind of started adding because he really likes talking about those and talking about how different the scores are between critics and audiences. So in this one, there is a split, but it is sort of the opposite of what we usually talk about.
Yeah, but I guess it's not that close looking at it.
So it's 45% critics, and it's 68% audience, which is going to be interesting because usually when this happens, Casey is almost always on the side of the audience, and I'm a big critic girl, and he makes fun of me for that. So it'll be interesting to see if we take the audience's side in this one. But the critics' consensus is 47 Meters Down Uncaged may not be as ruthlessly efficient as its finned villains, but fans of shark peril thrillers should find it chummy enough. I love the little clever synopsises.
Yeah, no. Clever.
One review that I read, I kind of skimmed the reviews on IMDb.
And they didn't like that.
They
hate IMDb.
One of the reviews said, "Forget the snooty critics. This movie's awesome." And since you always hate the snooty critics, I am excited to hear if you are on the same page as this reviewer. And a lot of the audience reviews apparently think this one is quite a gem.
A majority, you'd say 68%. So yeah, it's like a passing grade.
It's a good amount of people to be excited about this film.
In terms of do I agree with whomever? Is that what you're asking?
Well, do you want to just start with kind of your overall impressions before we get into the deets?
Sure, we can do that. I wrote some notes on this guy, and
okay.
It's it's gonna. Maybe you had the same reaction. It's basically a fucking slasher movie, just underwater.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And like they don't even try to hide that fact. You have 4 stereotypical friends who do something stupid that causes their demise by a soulless killing machine. I mean, it doesn't need to be underwater. And we had this discussion, I think, when we talked about Wrong Turn. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that was a fairly profitable movie. Let's just stick the fucking title on another movie and try to rake in the money when it has nothing to do with the original and is so far removed. And I didn't get a chance to watch 47 Meters Down, the original one, this week, but
I knew you weren't going to. Whenever you say I'll try, I'm like, you won't.
yeah, well, you know.
Sure, yeah.
Being in Canada,
busy
sometimes
guy.
movies are hard to find as well.
No, they're not. 47 Meters Down is easier to find than 47 Meters Down Uncaged.
Uncaged was on Netflix. The original was not.
Netflix is your only option.
No, but it wasn't on the other ones either. So, regardless, yeah. So it just feels like they took somebody wrote a screenplay for a slasher movie, and they literally just went, okay, as opposed to campground, we're going to just change the setting, and it's going to be underwater, and as opposed to a machete wielding psychopath, it's going to be a shark, and then we're going to throw in a second shark just for shits and gigs, because nobody's ever done that before, and that's the movie.
Let me say.
No, go on.
Oh, God. No, keep going. No, keep going, please. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought you were saying
I was just gonna say, like, it was.
Okay.
It's one of the more predictable movies I've ever seen in my life, too. Like, the moment you meet the 4 main characters, like, she's gonna die first, she's gonna die second, and then the other 2 are maybe gonna die, but probably not. And that's exactly what happens in that order. Like, even my wife called it, and she still gets surprised when Batman's revealed to be fucking Bruce Wayne in every movie. So, yeah, it was. All in all, halfway through my notes, I wrote, where is it? So I had about 5 notes, and I go, this movie blows.
Okay. Well, a couple things. First of all, so I did see the original, and I will say that I was kind of hoping you would watch it, but I knew you wouldn't. But
I mean, to be fair, I think I did see it when it came out. I just have no recollection of it whatsoever.
Well, you called me a stupid idiot earlier who doesn't remember anything, so that's interesting.
Well, I called you not the brightest bulb. I didn't say stupid idiot, so that's your words.
Same stuff, right? I mean, not the brightest bulb in the box is a euphemism for you're an idiot.
Fair. But can we just talk about the scores for the original 47 Meters Down? I don't know if you've looked at them or not. But they're not any better than the sequel on both sides of the spectrum.
I need to tell you, though. I need to say something. So I saw 47 Meters Down in the theater. And I don't know if you know about the history of it, and I won't go into huge details, but really quickly, it was supposed to be a direct-to-video. And at the last minute, it kind of got saved and got a theatrical release, and it ended up doing, like, incredibly well against like a really tiny budget.
It made $44 million in the U.S. I don't know what the budget was on it though.
It wasn't expected to do anything, and they barely spent any money on it. Like I said, it was going to be direct to video, and it ended up like being a good big hit. I guess put it that way, comparatively. And so I went to see it, and it's kind of surprisingly good. Like for most of these kind of movies. This is the next thing I want to talk about. I don't have a lot of expectations, and I'm like, listen, like I feel like everything has been done at this point. You're really not going to blow me away. This is not going to be Jaws. I'm not going to be really scared, but maybe I'll have a good time. Like that's kind of my barometer for these kind of films. I'm like, I just want to have fun. I love sharks. I love underwater shit. So let's have fun. 47 Meters Down kind of got me because it was like. It wasn't, and it was one of those films that wasn't so much about the sharks. It was more about like how kind of terrifying the situation would be, and the claustrophobia, and the fact that they were running out of air, and they did a really good job with that in the first one of like making that a very tense situation of a survival thriller, really. Like this one is too, but it was a little bit more focused on that, where it was a little more. It was really good acting. I mean, it was actually like pretty compelling. And I'm not going to say it's the greatest film ever made. but it's pretty
That's a
good for a
shock.
shark film. Shut up. God damn. So and this one, what I wanted to tell you is this is the same writer director, which is really interesting because I expected
is
it to just
weird,
be
yeah.
like a cash grab by like they just threw it at somebody and said like, okay, slap on, just like you said, like slap on 47 meters down to the title, and then just like take a generic film and shark it up a little bit. And that'll be that. But it's like the same dude, which is really kind of, and they feel like very different films. And again, I know you haven't seen it, but it's like this one has like zero connection. There are some similarities and some references, like in the first one, they're two sisters as well, and they do have the thing about running out of oxygen, which they talk about in this one, but they do a terrible job with it. It's like sort of an afterthought, and there's no consistency as far as like how much oxygen they really have.
Yeah.
But in the first one, they do a really good job of it. This one is like, it's weird to me. When I found that out, I was like, that's kind of crazy that it's like the same dude who made his sequel, and it feels so disconnected. So that's just a little bit of backdrop. But one thing that I was going to say is that for this kind of film, and you talked about it, I was going to ask you how you felt, but you sort of revealed that you hated it. But you said, oh, it's basically just a slasher underwater. And I thought there's a chance that you might actually enjoy that because I know you like slashers. And the thing about this film is that I think objectively you can put, like, no one is going to argue that it is a good film. I think at the most you're going to argue that it's a fun film. Like, is it entertaining? That's really the question that we're asking here. We're not asking, is it good? Because just like a slasher, you throw all plausibility and plot out the window. There are so many freaking plot holes. And you know, I'm not a big plot hole girl. I don't really care. But for this one, there's so many times you're like, how the fuck? Like, what the hell? This is so ridiculous. You really have to go in being like, I'm going to suspend every amount of, you know, skepticism I have, and I'm just going to be all in. And I don't care what they throw at me. I'm just going to accept it as fact in this little world. And that's how you have to enjoy this film. That's the only way you could enjoy it. Because if you get hung up on like details, forget it. Don't even try. It's a mess from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean...
But is it fun? That's the question. Is it fun? Is it a good time?
I would say no. I didn't have much fun with this
And why
movie.
not?
Besides the glaring plot holes, like, the first thing is like, yeah, she's like, oh, I'm going to take you to this spot that nobody knows about. Only I know it. Or like Ben told me or some shit like that, right? Yet there's a fucking raft there full of like futuristic fucking scuba gear that somebody's just leaving out in the fucking water for some reason.
That's because they're like, Ben works with the main girl's dad, the sister's dad, and like they're working in that area. They're excavating. They're doing shit. So like it's all their equipment.
Right,
So
but that's
kind of
like
makes sense.
That shit looks like it costs 3 times my lifetime salary for one of those masks, and you're just gonna leave it in a fucking cooler. No, what business does that? What business goes, hey, we're doing an on-site job at so-and-so place. Let's bring our most powerful computer that we're just going to leave out on the table overnight because reasons. It only costs us $14,000 a key on the keyboard. We're just going to leave it out for the world to fucking see and get and use.
The idea is that it's not, I mean, nobody knows this place exists. It's like the only reason that she knows is because they discovered it, and then like her boyfriend who works with the dad told her about it. So ostensibly nobody should like even know this place exists.
Yeah, but I mean, how often, like, the way I think about shit like that, and again, this is nothing to do with the movie, it's just kind of going into real life stuff. It's like, if I come across a place, I'm like, oh my God, nobody must know about this place. How many other people have come across that fucking place and said the exact same thing? Dozens, hundreds, probably. It's like, oh, you're the only one who ever walked off a trail. You stupid idiot. But anyway, that's just stupid.
know.
Like, that doesn't make...
I think that's the least
I just
of
don't
the
think
problems.
they would... Or how about the fact that all those wetsuits seem to fit them perfectly?
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching this, one of the things I thought, I was like, because, I've told this before. Now when I watch films, when I'm watching films for the show, I watch them with my perspective, and then I sort of watch them with your perspective as well. And I think about what you're going to say and how you're going to react, which is really upsetting, and I don't enjoy it at all. I'm going to tell you that. But it's like when I was watching it, I was like, oh, because I know how much you always write down the inconsistencies and the plot holes and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, that this movie is nothing but plot holes. If
Yeah.
we're being honest, like, and I'm usually somebody who's like, who cares? Like, honestly, Casey, does it really matter? Because you'll point out the most nitpicky stuff, and I'm like, seriously, that's what you got tripped up on? Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
But this one is. Like, it's not detailed because what you just said was a detail, and granted, like,
Right.
you're not wrong.
Oh,
but
that's
it's
just the
detailed.
tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Yeah.
But the premise is so inherently flawed. Like, the basic tenets of what happened here are so unbelievable, even for somebody like me who is more than happy to suspend disbelief. Like, if I'm having fun, I don't care. Because I watch enough slashers and kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't need logic. Like, I don't care why, Jason gets resurrected or whatever. I don't need the science of it. Like, it's fine. It's baked into it. It's totally fine.
Yeah, it's for the
and
universe.
This is the same kind of movie. Like, I don't give a shit, but I will say, like, I was worried you were gonna have a real problem with it because, like I said, if I'm like, oh, what the hell? Where did these sharks come from? And I'm sorry, what? And they evolved over 500 years. Like, that's not how evolution works. Like, I'm just like having all of these problems with it. Like, what are they eating? How are these sharks growing and thriving when they're trapped in this cave system? It is just insanity to the point where it did pretty much take me out of it. Where I was like, okay, there's like no effort here.
No, yeah. I mean, that also kind of leads me to like a legit question because you're a Shark Week fanatic, apparently. And this goes for a lot of shark movies out there, but do sharks kill just for funsies? Or do they only kill to eat?
Well, they don't kill for funsies. I mean, they eat a lot, so they do they don't play with their food. They kill to eat. For most of the time, though, like they don't like humans. Like that's not their preferred dish.
Right.
So they're not basically. They're not hunting humans. A lot of times they just don't know. They don't know what we are when we're in the water. And they think we're food, and that's why a lot of times people survive shark attacks, and they'll just get they'll get nibbled on, they'll get a bite taken out of them because the shark will taste them and be like, no thanks, and move on. So sharks aren't like hunting humans for sport or hunting anything for sport.
Well, I don't mean humans in particular, but like anything. Like if it just say a shark swimming through the water and it just ate a bunch of fish or like a carcass of a whale or something, and it sees a bunch of seal just kind of chilling. Will it go and attack the seal just for shits and giggles, or will it just like swim past because it's not hungry anymore?
Yeah, I think, it's not gonna. I mean, sharks aren't movie sharks. They're not like the movie sharks. They're vengeful. They're
always trying to kill people or
out
anything.
to get you.
Yeah, which again, like that sort of shit. I'm like, is that like why is this shark so relentlessly attacking these people when it ate that dude at the beginning? Sure, maybe that's his first meal in a while. He's probably not going to give a shit about the other guys until he sleeps it off, has a nap, wakes up. Maybe I'm still a little peckish. I could go for some more human. Sure, why not? But it's just like they just kill to kill.
This is the conceit of shark movies that you have to accept this at some point. You have to be like, okay, for most of these shark movies, not all of them. I mean, there are films like Open Water that do a really good job of like a realistic shark terror kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or even The Shallows does a pretty good job.
Well, even Jaws isn't that unbelievable because it attacks like one person a day. It's not going on a killing spree and killing 15 people a day.
But Jaws is sort of like one of the, I don't know if it was the first, but one of the first where it was like the shark is vengeful. The shark is like an asshole and is kind of like out to get you. That was sort of the conceit in Jaws, which is, I mean, I'm not hating on Jaws. Jaws is amazing.
But like, who was it vengeful for? Like, yeah, sure, Jaws for the revenge, sure. But Jaws, the original, I mean, it's just it ate some humans who were swimming out at sea, which isn't that unbelievable. It's not like it continuously hunted people after it had eaten. So I feel like that's kind of realistic.
Well, I think it gets like, this sort of leads to, because it gets pissed off when it's being like hunted. And
well, when it gets shot, I'm sure it's not happy.
This is like, again, like the conceit of these movies is that these sharks, you know, they have personality. They like develop personal vengeances. They have an agenda, which isn't obviously like it's not real life, and you're not supposed to like be like, oh, this is a scientific documentary of shark behavior. I think in this one the conceit is that these sharks they've been trapped in this underground series of caves, and they've kind of evolved in this like, so they're separated from the like main ocean, and they've had to evolve, which is where they've developed. They're like blind now because they've had to like learn how to see in the dark.
Yeah.
And I think probably you could, if you're gonna suspend belief, right? You could be like, well, these sharks aren't gonna behave like normal sharks because they've sort of evolved in this like different type of environment, and I guess, you know, this is their first chance at like really like
Real
big
food.
tasty prey. Yeah. And so maybe that just sends them into a frenzy and they go crazy. I mean,
Sure.
again, I can sort of, some of the things I can be like, well, I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense, but in the context of this movie, in this world, sure, okay. And that's one of those things, like the fact that the sharks are so just like constantly attacking. Again, I mean, they have to really, because that's what this kind of movie is. This
But they
movie
didn't-
is about that shark threat.
Right. But they could have added tension in other ways.
Well, they did. I think they did, though. I think that they
I found there was
actually.
no tension in this movie at all.
I thought the current scene was pretty cool.
Sure.
You know, where they get trapped in like the big current and they have to try to like get. I thought that was pretty cool.
Right. And the movie
I
could have
thought
used more shit like that.
Absolutely. And I did think Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, they're in these tight corridors. They could have had some more claustrophobic moments. They could have had.
Yeah.
They could have taken a note or two from The Descent. You know, like where the movie is about these girls who get trapped, and then the monsters revealed at the end, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where like that's more like, I don't like The Descent because it makes me uncomfortable. Like the claustrophobic aspect of it, I'm like,
so
no,
good.
thank you. So they could, but these are like, the scariest part for them was when like the stupid ass girl's like, hey, look, a fish, and then she pokes her finger out and it just screams at them,
Oh my god, yeah.
and then she freaks
I
out.
think-
I'm like, what did you think was gonna happen?
I did
Why
laugh
stick your
out
finger
loud at
out?
a few points.
Yeah.
Like that was pretty fun. And the fish actually literally screamed.
Yeah,
And I was like, this is kind of glorious. Like, and honestly, I was like, you know what? If this is what we're gonna do, if we're gonna do high camp, I'm here for it. Like, I love that shit. So I feel like this movie, unfortunately, it doesn't get the so bad it's good. So bad it's good treatment, because it doesn't. It takes itself seriously. Like, it doesn't lean into that camp. But at first, you think that they're going to, and I'm like, yeah, okay, this could be fun. Like, I'm here for it. And they didn't do it. But some moments, I was like, oh, if we would have just done more of this, if you would have just amped this shit up, it would have been a bad movie, but it would have been super fun. And I could have forgiven that.
sure.
I'm all for a good bad movie. But yeah, I mean, to your point, that's like what I brought up the point of like in the first one, puppy is barking.
No, it's the dog outside, actually.
Oh, okay. The first one, they did a really good job with the tension of like their depleting oxygen levels.
Right, and
And
like
in
the
this one, they
isolation
sort of-
aspect, I'd imagine.
Yeah. This one, they mentioned it a few times. Like, they did talk about like, oh my god, we're running out of air. But the logic of it was so unsound. Like, they would be there 5 minutes and their tank would go from 80 to 40%.
Yeah,
And then it would be like 45 minutes
hour.
later.
yeah,
Yeah, an hour
It's the
later, and
same
they're like
number.
20%.
yeah,
But then that number like will last them for hours.
The rest of the
while
movie.
They're like
yeah.
on like 5% critical, and it's
Yeah.
just. So there was no tension in that, because you just basically figured out pretty early on, all right, well, the tanks are just going to last as long as they need to last to finish this movie. Like, it's sort of a non-issue. But to me, that's why the first one, because it was kind of realistic, because that would be horrifying if you were like trapped at the bottom of the ocean and you had very limited air supply. And I mean, that's the premise of the first one, and they're in a cage and they can't get out of the cage because they're surrounded by sharks. So it's like, do they just stay there and die and run out of air? after they swim out and then probably get eaten by a shark. It's just like there's no good options.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is and I thought like the way that they killed the one girl where she basically got like stuck and like had to take off. Well, she got attacked by a shark. She had to take off her oxygen and stuff, and then she was stuck and she drowned. Like that shit's terrifying to me. The like sort of like natural ways of dying in the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
because the ocean's fucking scary.
Yes.
That was like intense and stuff. But like it's weird because like the sharks are the number one threat by far, and they are the least terrifying.
Yeah.
And that's like that's the hard thing. It's because it's like then they like the sharks just kind of become campy, like they're like a slasher serial killer, and so it's fun to watch them kill, but it's not really actually that scary or intense or overwhelming.
Yeah, and they don't look great. The CGI in this movie is not
great.
good.
I
Like that
know,
fish right at the beginning when I saw them, I'm like, oh no. Hopefully the sharks
Again,
know.
but I feel like they could have gone further. Like I wish if they were gonna go that route, they would have just
Should've gone
been like, you know what, this
Birdemic.
is gonna be fucking yes. I mean, not Birdemic, maybe that's a little far, but just like had fun with it, been like self-aware and been like, you know what, this is ridiculous. Let's just go all in on that. But they took themselves pretty. This is supposed to be a serious, scary movie.
Yeah.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
They took a page out of Tommy Wiseau's book. This is real Hollywood movie.
And I do think like it was definitely inspired by like it was definitely a nod to
Inspired
film
by
like
The
The
Room.
Descent. No, The Descent. And I think that's a problem with this film I had is that I felt like besides logic flaws aside, there's a good setup here, right? Like the underwater city looked really cool. The fact
Yeah,
that they're
but
in this
it's-
labyrinth of like being trapped and shit, that's scary inherently. Like The Descent, like you mentioned, is terrifying before the monsters even make an appearance. And I would argue is more terrifying before there's any other outside forces.
Right.
And same thing here. Like there's the potential here for you to feel very claustrophobic, very stressed out, very scared
But
before
they
you
never
even
do it.
see a shark. But they don't. They try, but it doesn't ever get
Yeah, I
conveyed
mean,
properly.
the closest thing was when like they kicked up when the girl freaked out at the screaming fish and knocked this shit over and all the soot kicked up, and which was foreshadowed because you're like, don't freak out because you'll kick up the soot and you won't be able to see. Oh gee, what happens 5 minutes later? Right, like it's not only just plot holes and terrible CGI and kind of a weak premise to begin with, because like you said, like sure, the underwater city and the underwater setting can be kind of cool if it weren't just a new skin for a slasher movie. If that was like their job and they're exploring, they uncovered like a fucking ancient curse sort of thing, sure, cool, great, whatever. But to do it this way, and then the plot armor that the two main characters have is fucking nuclear thick. It is stupid. Everybody who gets even remotely close to one of these sharks gets eviscerated. Except for the two main girls, who both get bitten, dragged to the bottom of the ocean, and survive.
Yeah, the ending is divisive. It is one of those love it or
The
hate it kind of
ending
endings
is
because
dumb.
well, the ending goes just like I mentioned. The ending goes full camp, and honestly, by the time it happens, it's sort of. I think that's what people respond to it because it's sort of a welcome because we've been in this like deadly serious sort of situation that is. It feels like it goes on forever and it is a little bit painful, and then there's this really playful, over the top, ridiculous ending that's sort of like, okay, that's kind of fun, but also it's very misplaced and doesn't really go with the film. So it's one of those things that you probably either will be like, okay, that's so bad it's good, that's funny, and I kind of appreciate it, or you'll be like, fuck this movie.
Yeah,
And
it's a fuck.
I
this
sort of knew
movie.
you would be in the latter
Yeah.
camp for sure. I did laugh. Again, I was like, okay, this is pretty funny. So in one hand, I appreciate it because I wanted to be entertained, and it was entertaining. It's not good, but it's entertaining. But on the other hand, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this is really what is this movie trying to be? I don't even know.
Yeah, and that's usually my complaint is, what's the identity of this movie? What does it want to be? What does it want to do? And this one has no fucking clue from start to finish.
But I do think, let me ask you this question
Mm-hmm.
before we move on to one that I'm very excited to talk about. do you think, okay, let's say you're someone like me
Right.
who is like,
A
listen, I don't know if you
terrible
noticed
person,
on
unfunny and
Instagram.
uncharismatic, no personality.
Why do you hate me so much? Like, seriously.
I'm just
What
listing
the
the traits of
hell?
a redhead. That's all.
That's fucked up, dude. You've been like a little bit more, actually a lot more mean than normal. Like, no, you're always mean, but this is like more pointed. It's more
I know,
like,
but I've had to step it up
vicious.
because our listenership has gone down. So, you know.
Oh, shit. Well, that's
I
depressing.
don't know if
I don't
that's
need to
true
hear
or
that.
not. I don't know. I haven't actually looked in a while. But, you know, everybody likes controversy or controversy, if you know.
Yeah, I guess you're just like, in honor of Shark Week, you're like, I'm just going to be extra vicious and just really like draw blood this time.
like a shark. Always moving.
Yeah, with your evil black eyes.
Well,
Yeah.
in this case, they're white.
They were white. Which
They're
was
like
kind of
milky.
cool. But
Yeah,
but
I mean, the
it's
design
kinda
of the
weird
shark wasn't
because
terrible, but the execution was awful.
It's weird because, like, on one hand, you're like, yeah, that, and in any other creature, I think it would make them scarier. But shark eyes are already so terrifying that black, like, looks like dead inside eyes
Yeah.
are so scary that you don't need to fuck with that. You just need to. I'm always, every time I see like a great white, their eyes, they really do look like. I always think of Michael Myers, where it's like, you know,
Pure evil.
the devil's soul, yeah,
Yeah.
the soul of the devil lives in there. Like, they have nothing behind
I
their
feel like
eyes, and
that might have been part of the inspiration behind the design of Michael Myers.
probably.
I think
'cause
I heard somebody say like he's supposed to be a shark.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because they do. I know they're not evil, but that's
No.
why they get such a bad rap, is because they fucking look evil.
Yeah, they're scary. They got these. Have you ever seen a goblin shark? Just out of curiosity.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, those things are fucked up.
Yeah,
I don't like
love
those.
Sharks are so freaking cool. But
Sharks.
anyway, all right. Let's say you're somebody. Insults aside, let's say you're someone like
Right.
me who.
Mhm.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you saw on Instagram, but I spent the whole week watching really shitty sci-fi shark movies,
I did see.
like intentionally knowing what I was getting to. I was like, this is gonna be unwatchable, but let's try it anyway.
Hmm.
And because those films are so self-aware and they are really trying to be very tongue-in-cheek, I can have fun with them. I mean, they're absolute garbage, right? But they know that they're garbage, and they're like, so what? You're watching a shark exorcist movie. Like, what do you expect? Like, of course this is gonna be campy and stupid, so just have fun with it, dummy.
Shark
And
exorcist movie.
I can do that and have a really good time. And it almost doesn't matter. Like, if you give me, it's just like people who love slashers. It's like, who cares what the story is? Who cares what the characters are? Like, just give me a masked man going around killing people and I'm happy. I'm sort of like that with sharks. I'm like, yeah, just give me sharks eat people. It's good. I'll watch it all day long. So if you're somebody who just enjoys the spectacle of this kind of things, do you think that this gets a pass? Is it entertaining on that level only? Like, story aside, acting aside, directing aside, is it fun as just a sharks are going to eat people movie? Or is it just not even fun on that level?
I mean, even trying to put myself in your shoes, I find it very hard to find any redeeming qualities to this. It's well shot, I guess.
There's some cool looking scenes. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I mean, like the end with like the Zack Snyder slow-mo shit, that's kind of cool, but I mean, very out of place for this movie.
Yeah. I like the alarm scene with the red lights and the I thought
like that
was
didn't
kinda
make any
cool.
sense because these fucking things are
No,
blind.
it doesn't make any sense.
Which means
Yeah.
they can hear probably forever. And they're like, hey, let's set this siren off while we're floating in the water because people might hear it above, but the sharks definitely won't hear it below. Like, that's fucking stupid. I don't know. I can't find a whole lot of... I would not recommend this movie to anybody. Like, point blank.
Yeah, as much as I hate to say it, and it really does pain me to agree with you, like, on so many levels. It's not, like, listen, it's not a terrible way to, like, kill some time if you have very low expectations and you're like, honestly, I just want to see some kind. And there's some stuff that is a little bit different than a lot of shark movies. Like, they try, I'll give them this, they try to do some different stuff, and I appreciate that because it is hard to be different in this subgenre. Like, there's only so much you can do with sharks in the water. So they try, and I appreciate that. And I think there's some fun, like, jump scares and some fun visuals and stuff. It's
Is
not.
there Is there
a
though?
horrible way to spend your time. But I will say, if you have to choose and you haven't seen the original, I would see the original because the original is polarizing as well. But I think there's a better chance that if you actually want to be sort of, if you want some tension and you want to sort of be a little scared and a little like on the edge of your seat, that has more to offer. And the acting is much better, and it's a better, like, more compelling story. It's again not a perfect film, so don't quote me that I just said it was a fucking masterpiece that should win Oscars. But it's pretty good for what it is, for sure, and it's definitely better than this. I will say that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of light years better,
Yeah,
in my opinion. Although there are a lot of reviews that said that this was like so much better than the first. You know what? Because the first one is like slower, so you're gonna get that whole like it's boring. This one is like they just throw shit at you left and right from the second that the movie starts, and that is what people like. So if you like that kind of shit, you'll like this one better. But if you like a little bit more of a, you're actually invested and there's real tension, then you'll like the first one better.
Sure. If you say so. I mean, it has
do
Mandy
say so.
Moore, the first one, so there's that, I guess.
Mandy Moore's great. She's great.
I mean, I haven't seen her in like 12 years and anything, but sure.
She's really good in that film. I mean, I think she's good, period, but she's really good in 47 Meters Down. She really sells the story. Like, you feel genuine fear. And in this one, I didn't feel any fear. Like, I didn't, and it's another thing is, like, I didn't know one character from the next because they're, like, in these wetsuits and they're
And
masked
the
and they
same
haven't
person.
really, they haven't really defined their personalities very much. So, honestly, like, you have no idea, like, who's who at any given time for the most part.
Yeah. I just hate
Except
when,
for
like,
the one bitch that like dies a horrible death that you like are rooting for her because she's the one that like jumps up on the pulley and
she's the cause of everything that happens in this movie. Like, it's her fault.
she's a
that everything
monster,
happens.
and so you are excited when she dies.
Yeah, but
And she gets ripped apart, which is nice.
she
to see.
gets
I liked
Jurassic
that.
Park. Yeah, that's like a Jurassic Park kill. But yeah, I don't know. I hate when movies also do like these characters are very obviously fodder. You know, like they're just there to die. And even the fucking dad had like a Samuel L. Jackson death. You know, he's like, we're going to get out.
Yeah. There was a lot of that. A lot of like,
It's like, this is stupid. Yeah.
Which, again, can be kind of fun in a campy way. But
If it hasn't already been done. Like when it happened in Deep Blue Sea, you're like, holy fuck. Right? Yeah. But in this, you're like, he's going to die now. Oh, there it is. Oh, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
terrible.
I tend to agree with you on this one, sadly.
Yeah.
Can I? Because listen, I know you're always like, audiences are so smart, and I'm always like, I don't know how smart they are, dude. Like, I don't
you call
trust them
you
most
call
of the
the
time.
regular audience retards all the time.
I don't. I would never, first of all, use that word and stoop to that kind of derogatory. All right, listen. I'm gonna end before we talk about the Meg. I'm gonna end with a actual user review that I found that I had to copy and paste, and I think we maybe should start adding this to the show because these reviews are gold.
Of the Meg or of 47 Meters Down?
No, of 47 Meters Down Uncaged.
Okay.
It might be ironic and it might be sarcastic. I can't really tell, and it might be totally legit. So let me read it to you.
Okay.
When I tell y'all I am absolutely in love, all caps, with this movie, I am in love with this movie. The ending has to be my absolute favorite. When I tell you I was literally standing on my feet the entire time, I was standing on my feet the entire time. Bro, this movie deserves an Oscar, my dude. Like, seriously,
Bro.
I'm not joking. 7 exclamation marks. The
My
movie
dude.
has all types of thrills and chills. The director needs to be paid millions. He did an outstanding job with this one. I have never been more impressed with a movie until now. I recommend that everyone go see this movie immediately. Also, I'm not sure as to why some people in the reviews are commenting less than 5 stars for this movie. Because, sis, this movie deserves all the hype. Oh my God. For reals. That is a review. So, it just goes to show, everyone, there's something for everyone out there. I don't know if that was real or not. In my heart, it's real because that makes me happy to think that somebody has this much passion for this movie.
Right.
And
I mean,
wrote that review.
that's probably like the director just under guise.
I feel like the director would write a more coherent, like, the direction.
No,
The
but then-
direction was really like,
Then it's obvious. It can't be
I don't know,
obvious.
this-
Like saying shit like, bro, this movie deserves an Oscar, my dude. Like, it's like, was it written by Argyle?
It's so good. Oscar winning 47 meters down and caged. I
Yes.
think we should start a campaign. All right, so let's talk
Let's
about
transition
your pick.
to a real Oscar-worthy movie in the Meg.
For sure. Can I say one thing before you get started?
I suppose so.
When this movie came out,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of excitement I had for it was off the fucking charts. Like,
I can imagine.
could not freaking wait for this movie. I had like goosebumps every time I'd see the trailer, and I saw this in the theater like the second it came out. I was like, oh shit. So I have a history with this film. When you said I want to watch the Meg, I thought you were gonna pick like the Shallows or something, but then you said the Meg, and I was like, oh shit, here we go. So I just want to preface it with that before we start talking about it. And I have
Okay.
no notes. I took 0 notes, but
And
that's
same
okay.
here. Took 0 notes on this one as well.
Ugh.
All
right.
Yeah, so the Meg.
Lead us into it.
2018 movie. Came out, like you said, to some hype, I think. I remember seeing this all over like billboards and sides of buses and shit like that. And then it came out. I don't know. I'd never really heard about it after it came out, to be honest. But the critic consensus on the good old RT is yet another cheesy, stupid fucking play on words. But regardless, the Meg sets audiences up for a good old-fashioned B-movie creature feature, but lacks the genre lacks
Wow,
the
excellently
genre
done.
thrills. The genre thrills is hard to say. Try saying that.
Genre thrills. Genre
and then
thrills. Genre
say another
thrills.
word after
Genre
that.
thrills.
Shut up. Genre thrills or the cheesy bite to make it worth diving in. So as you can see, the Meg didn't score super well with audiences or critics. 45 and 42% equally.
I remember it being
respectively.
controversial because they at one point announced that they were giving it a PG-13 because they
Mhm.
wanted, they wanted
Bigger
more
audience.
butts in the seat. And
Mhm.
that was upsetting because if there's one thing this film needed, it was more
Boobs.
You needed some you needed more boobs for sure. I tend to say that a lot when I watch a movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
You needed more kills, more bloody kills, more like brutality, because there's really none of that in this one. It's pretty tame from a violent standpoint.
But I mean, that kind of makes sense when you have a shark the size of a fucking apartment building. It's not going to tear people apart. It's going to swallow them whole.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not Jaws where the human is proportioned to the mouth of the shark. This thing, like, it can swallow a boat whole if it wanted to.
But it didn't. I don't think it swallowed many people. Like, was it maybe like one? And there's some people died, but a lot of people died
swallowed
from
the wall guy or whatever it's called.
like
it's
one,
swallowed.
right? Is that it? Everybody else died from like
Other shit.
other shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He also Rainn Wilson's character,
yeah.
which was a great. That was joyful. Yeah, I mean, I was just throwing that out there that there was some like controversy and people were pissed off because they're like, I want an
Right.
R rating.
Right. I don't know. I don't
Especially
know
with
if an R
Jason
rating would have
Statham.
made this better. I mean, it probably would have just added more colorful language.
Did you hate this film?
I didn't hate this film. Was it a good movie? No, absolutely fucking not. But talking about what you mentioned on the last one, where it's like, is it at least fun? The last one, no.
Right.
This one was at least fun.
Thank you.
I had a good time watching it, even though it wasn't a good movie. It
See,
had the
that's
same
exactly
sort of
how I
feel.
felt.
Yeah, it had the same feel as like a Jurassic Park, especially
Yeah.
the newer ones. Not particularly good, but will I sit through it and watch it and have a good time with it? Yeah, why not?
I am so glad you said that because that was the comparison I was going to make. Is that the first one? It's like, okay, these are both bad movies, just on the surface of it, but like, are they fun? Like, do you have a good time? First one, not so much. This one, I have a really good time watching it.
Mhm.
Like, it's sort of joyful, and a huge part of that is Jason Statham because I feel like he can do no fucking wrong. He is so good in everything and just such a delight to watch, in my opinion. Do you disagree?
I mean, I like Jason Statham, but I think he takes some suspicious roles sometime. Like I don't think he fit particularly well in this one.
I loved him.
He's good in like certain things, very specific things, like Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch. Those movies really, really good in that. As a fast wit, sort of like British crony kind of guy, and he works well as like the transporter, like an assassin type style character. But in this, I don't know, he didn't really have. It didn't feel like a him movie. I feel like anybody could have done the role he did and it would have been fine. Like he didn't make or break the movie for me. He's also an anomaly.
I think he definitely and I definitely increased my enjoyment of the film. I will say that.
Well,
I see an anomaly.
Well, he confuses me because like you look at his face and you're like, eh. Then he takes off his shirt and you're like, what the fuck? Like, why is this guy like the most jacked, ripped, handsome man on the planet with a shirt off? And then with the shirt on, I'm like, yeah, you could walk into the side of a bus and I really wouldn't give a shit. Your face wouldn't change.
Yeah.
It might be better. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, like, weird in that sense to me. But, hey.
I think he's nummy.
With a shirt on?
Just all the time. I mean, part of it is that, like, he's got that accent, which definitely helps. He's got that, like, attitude, which I also, like, love.
Yeah.
You know, the little, like, bad boy thing. Sadly is something that I like. And yeah, I think he's just a beautiful man. He's funny. He's sort of everything.
He used to be an Olympic diver. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Holy shit.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Olympics, but he was like a world champion diver for Great Britain.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Like the springboard guys who do like little flippy things in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could see it. Yeah. All right. I think that's enough Jason Statham talk. I mean, we could make a whole show probably talking about him, but that's maybe too much.
Well, there's one more. I don't know if you saw this critic review.
All right.
It's the first green splat under the critic review, and it says, this one genuinely, the one genuine shock is that it takes Statham as long as 44 minutes to remove his shirt and flash his pecs.
Yeah, that is too long. I give the critic that. That's way
Especially
too
when it's a movie underwater, like, right? But
then it's like a what's the word? It's like a reveal. You know, there's like tension because you're like, when is he gonna get naked? Like, how long is it gonna take? And you're waiting and waiting, and then when it happens, it's like, oh, you know, it's like the angels sing, and you're just so excited, and you've like, okay, I've earned this moment. I sat through 44 minutes to get here, so
Right.
I sort of appreciate that. I appreciate the slow build to the big beautiful moment.
Sure. So the movie itself,
Yeah.
it looks a lot better, and it's a year older than the other one that we talked about. I don't want to talk about it anymore, but the name of it and stuff. It's a year older, and it has better effects, and it looks better, and it just all around is.
Wait, then what movie?
The one we just talked about.
No, it's. I think it's. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. It was made a year. Okay, got it. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was made
2018 versus
2018. That was 2019. Yes, so it's
Got
an
it.
older
Okay,
movie, and it looks
Yeah.
100% better.
Yeah, well, it's got a much bigger budget. I mean, in fairness.
Sure, but like, if you're gonna make a movie about sharks, at least make sure the sharks look fucking good. That's the bare minimum, right? And this one does that. The sharks are cool. The science behind it is, very Godzilla versus King
Very
Kong.
questionable.
Yeah, like, I don't think the ocean stops there. It's just an illusion. It's just a big cloud, right? Like, okay.
But in this one, they make you believe it. Like, I buy
They do
it.
make
Like,
you believe
I
it a
don't.
little bit.
I know it's ridiculous, but I'm like, okay, in this world, I'm totally down that this is a real thing. I don't question it at all.
Sure. And then, like, how it escapes is because when they went in it or when they left it or something, there was like an air pocket that expanded, creating a tunnel. That the biggest
I
fucking
think it's believable.
Yeah, sure. And they get away with it only having one come out is like, it closed itself up. Okay. Fine. I'll accept that. Why not? It's not the most ridiculous thing I've seen today because I watched the other movie we watched. But yeah, I don't know. It was a good time. And I
It's
went in
fun,
kind of
right?
expecting that. Like I went in expecting kind of a campy thing, and that's exactly kind of what I got. When you've like Rainn Wilson is the rich bad guy. I don't know if he's a bad guy.
He's
just
so
like
good.
he's a douchebag, but when you have him in it, like it's gonna be a camp fest and it's gonna be silly.
Yeah, they did such a good job. Like, because I mean, it's not like sci-fi camp, like they do take themselves seriously enough to like make a good movie and to have there's drama and there's good acting and stuff, but then there is a lot of like there's a lot of humor, there's a lot of silliness, there's a lot of like self-awareness that it's a really good balance. They do a very good job of that, like not going so far to where you're like groaning and rolling your eyes, but going far enough where you're like, okay, this is fun, like I'm with you, this is a good time.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do.
My biggest question is,
My biggest question.
are they gonna make, or should they have made the shark bigger?
You didn't think it was big enough?
I don't think it was big enough. I mean, they're just coming out with the second one, so I assume it's gonna be bigger at that one. But
Wait, they're coming out with a Meg too?
it's coming out like next year. How do you not know
really?
this? Yes.
How do I not know this? Is
The
this a
Meg
thing?
2. The Trench is what it's called. 2023.
No.
Yeah. Jason Statham, Lee Bingbing, Jeff Curtis, Paige Kennedy. Looks like they're all coming back.
My God,
the ones who survived, anyway.
I just like feel like somebody gave me the best Christmas present ever. Somebody was like,
you're
"Here
welcome.
you go." I did not know this, and I don't know how I didn't not know this, but I can't fucking wait. Like I'm giddy for that.
August 4th, basically a year from now, is when it's supposed
Now,
to
how
come
in the
out.
hell they're gonna do a sequel? Like this movie does not need a sequel in any way, shape, or form. But I'm still here for it.
My guess is the Trench opens up and a lot of Megs come out.
Oh yes, please.
I mean, that's the only step up that I can think of, right?
First of all, I love that this movie is about a megalodon because that alone gives it a lot of points in my book because it's like, it's so fucking cool. It's like, yeah, we talked about like every shark movie, you've seen everything under the sun when it comes to sharks in the water. But to take it a step further and be like, all right, it's not a shark. It's like,
It's a
it is a shark,
dinosaur.
but it's like a mega shark,
Yeah.
and like that's pretty fucking cool. I give them props for that. That's when I heard the premise for this one, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, why didn't we think of this sooner? This is amazing.
Yeah. One question I do have about it, and it's kind of near the very beginning, it's a plot point throughout, is, and then maybe I just missed it because I was dealing with the puppy and stuff, but why? Like when they get attacked, right? His ex-wife goes, Jonas was right. So at the beginning when he's saving all those people, where the fuck were they that the Meg got out? And then why wasn't it around for the next X amount of time? Because apparently he'd seen it before when he's saving that crew at the very beginning of the movie. He's like, I saw something. I saw like a huge shark. It was crazy, blah, 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 blah. But they hadn't done this experiment yet to go through the barrier.
I don't know, dude.
So like, I was just like, that seems like a weird, like a glaring plot point. Like in a movie that doesn't really care about plot, like this one. It's almost like they went out of their way to set up a plot hole. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't have a good answer for you. I don't think I really like. This is one of those movies that I didn't pay that much attention to the details of the plot. I was more along for the ride.
Right,
So,
but it's one of those
I mean,
things where
you're
like
right.
that's the whole
I think.
reason they got him was because they're like, oh, he's dealt with this before. How?
Well, I don't think it's because he's dealt with a Meg before. I think it's because that was his job, is to be like, he was a rescue diver.
Yeah, like a
he would
deep
go
sea rescue
people.
diver. Yeah.
And
But
he's like the best there is. But then the last time he did it, he got spooked and like some people died, and then he stopped doing it.
right, but
that's
he
the
also said
premise.
he saw something, and a doctor was like, no, you
Yeah.
just had like pressure-induced psychosis or something like that. And
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense because the reason they convinced him, he's like, no amount of money, no amount of appealing to my better side, no amount of this, no amount of that is ever going to get me to do. And then they play a recording of his ex-wife going like, he was right all along. He was right. There's something. And then he's like, oh, I guess I got to go do it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So I don't know. It was just like, but they haven't opened the trench before. So unless this like pocket has opened, unless it's like a natural occurrence that this like tunnel is created
yeah,
and shit comes and goes kind of as it pleases when that happens.
maybe.
But that was never really explained. Maybe that's what the second
I-
movie will address.
I don't think that they really did explain it, but it wasn't anything that I was like, I need an explanation for this. But I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong for pointing it out. I'm just saying it wasn't anything that like hit me over the head. As,
Right. It wasn't
Wait a
one of
minute.
those things that like completely ruined the movie for me because of the nature of the movie. Like it wasn't a serious thing to begin with. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, we're talking about plot holes of the other one. We got to be fair with this one.
Yeah, but see, this is the difference. It's another thing. Like the first one, I focused a lot on the plot holes. And this one I didn't at all.
Mhm.
And that's because of how entertaining and the quality of the movie. That's what I was saying. It's like, I don't really care about plot holes. I care if the plot hole, if I focus on the plot holes, it means there's something wrong with the movie. It
Yeah,
means
if
you
it's
haven't engaged
distracting.
me enough
Mhm.
because now I'm just like thinking about like the science of it, which is really ridiculous. When you're watching a film like this to think about the science of it. And in this one, I did not give a shit about the science. I was like, all right, yeah. Like they could have had a legit like alien dinosaur come down and I would have been like all in it. I wouldn't have blinked an eye. I'd be like, that's fine. Because it's this kind of movie. I was like totally invested and just having a great time.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this movie, more than most of the ones we've actually watched in recent memory that I can recall, has an identity and it stuck to it. It knew what it wanted to do. It knew it was going to be a fun creature feature sort of thing. And that's basically what it was. And you can't fault it for that.
Did we just agree on both films during this episode?
Think we fucking did.
That's
You know, and I think I kind of knew that was going to happen, which was I was so mean to you at the beginning.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's why?
That's basically the only reason.
You're like, we need some fucking like hostility and
Yeah,
tension
we
during
need
this
some
podcast. We can't just
controversy.
be friends to each other.
No, of course not. But I mean, if we want to fight, you always just guarantee to pick like an A24 film.
All right, next time that'll be our let's do
And you can almost
A24
guarantee I'm gonna dislike it. Actually, what movie? There was something I didn't see the movie, but it was like produced by A24. I'm like, what the fuck? So I have to look that up right now because I want to see which one it was. Oh, it might have been X.
You haven't seen X?
I haven't seen X.
Oh, I actually think you're gonna like X. I really.
Well, they're like filming a porno, so what's there to not like?
I don't think we've fight about that one. I think you might actually. I could be wrong, but I feel like you're gonna love it.
8th Grade was another one I was kind of surprised they did. That's the Bo Burnham movie.
I think a good one for us to see whenever you can get access to it is Bodies.
Bodies, but
Which
I haven't heard of
I
it.
haven't seen yet because it's not out yet, but it looks like one that would be fun for us to talk about.
Under the Skin. They also did Under the Skin. I saw it. I didn't like it, but you see Scarlett Johansson naked, so I loved it.
Have you seen on Instagram or on social media the trend with the Little Miss?
The Little Miss?
The Little Miss memes that have been going around. You would know it if you'd seen it. You're not on social very much.
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, never mind. I don't really want to explain the trend because that's annoying, but there was one that was like, Little Miss only watches A24 horror movies, and I was like, okay, that feels really that feels really perfect. So I shared that one because like normally they're annoying to me because I'm like they're sort of everywhere. I'm surprised you haven't seen them, but that one made me giggle.
I have seen a lot of A24 movies. Just going through their list here. Disaster Artist I've seen.
Are we just gonna? I'm sorry. Is that what we're doing now on this podcast? Is
that's how we're gonna
reading
end it.
A24?
Ghost
All right. Well,
Story,
good
I've
thing
seen
we're
Ghost
ending with a
Story.
bang.
Tusk I've seen.
Okay.
A lot of them feature
probably
animals.
enough.
Like The Lobster, Tusk, The Captive. I saw a pre-screening for The Captive, or like a audience test. I was part of an audience test for that movie. So I shaped how that movie was released.
Okay, that's terrifying.
I know.
Well, next week will be your pick. So if you want to pick A24, feel free.
We'll see.
But you need to.
'Cause
You
we
need to get on
mentioned
that.
Aliens earlier, and we got everybody excited for Aliens.
Yeah, I think we got everybody really excited and pumped up. People are like on the edge of their seats right now, being like, "When are we getting Aliens?"
Yeah, obviously. But we'll find something to talk about next week. I'm fairly certain. Or not next week, the week after. Are you going on vacation this week?
I go on vacation next week. Well, not next week. A week from Monday.
Okay.
I mean, if this week is if the week starts on Sunday, then next week. But
right.
If you think a week starts on Monday, then
so you're going on the 1st, is what you're saying.
Yes, thank you. I'm going on the 1st.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Going to the beach where the real sharks are. So.
Oh yeah, because you live in a place that has like actual oceans and shit around you.
Sorta, yeah. I mean, not the kind of oceans that you see in movies where people are like, "Oh my god, this is absolute resplendent beauty." It's not. I guess let me say, Texas doesn't have the best oceans in the world, but an ocean's an ocean,
Texas.
and I do love oceans. So I'm super excited. And ironically, the last time when I saw the Meg, I was on vacation on the beach and went to this little like local movie theater to see the Meg. So
Did you watch it on the water? Like a lot of places do with Jaws. They do like a drive-in on the water.
It wasn't on the water, but it was very close to the water.
Oh,
it was water adjacent.
Yeah. Water adjacent, yeah, fair enough.
Water
like the
adjacent.
waves crash up against the side of the building.
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything sharky for me to see this time, but that's okay.
We can watch the Meg 2 trailers if they're out. I don't know if they're out.
Yeah, that would be nice. We'll see.
I doubt it. Still a year away. I don't think they release trailers that early anymore.
Yeah, probably not.
Alrighty. Well, this is a short episode this week. That's what happens when we both agree on shit.
Really? It was shorter than normal? I can't ever tell.
It's 66 minutes. Usually it's like 90. Oh, what the fuck was that? What is happening?
My computer just made a noise.
I heard that time. Yeah, weird. Usually I don't hear your computer noise. You're like, oh my god, did you hear that? I'm like, no. That time it was like,
I don't even
like,
know what.
Hello, I'm part of this now. So that's the end of this episode featuring myself, Casey, Stephanie, and Stephanie's computer, our new co-host.
He just wants to be a part of it, you know? It's like, this sounds like fun. I want to join in. You can't really blame it.
No, not really. Awesome.
All right. Well,
Great.
I mean, I feel like we forgot how to end shows since the last time we had a podcast, but that's all right.
That's okay. As long as you remember how to leave 5-star ratings on Spotify.
Well done.
Or iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Let us know if you do drop one of those fancy little ratings, especially on Spotify, because we can't see who actually does it. So let us know, and we'll give you a shout out. Or you can still leave the old-fashioned review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or I think that's about it, really, nowadays. Those are the two big players. So you can do those, and we'll read them if they're 5 stars, or, you know, if they're fun and not offensive. Or you can leave a voice message. I keep forgetting about that shit, too. I don't even know if you can still do that. But you can still, if you can still do that, feel free to do that on Anchor. Yes. Anything else to add? Yeah.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. It was well done.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's our Shark Week. Hopefully you don't go on Shark Week on your vacation.
Hopefully not. But guys, like Discovery Channel, check out Shark Week.
Yeah, we're totally sponsored by them.
Tonight.
Every view that you give them, they give us
money.
1 penny. Yeah, I mean, a lot of money. Yeah.
I probably give them more money on all my like Shark Week merch that I have to have and shit. But yes, go check it out, and you can follow us on social and talk about all the Shark Week stuff you're watching, because I will definitely be checking that out and interacting, and excited to talk to anybody who's a fellow shark lover like me. So hit us up.
Fair enough. Alrighty. So until next time. Good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.